Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the rundown. Today is May 19th, and it's a sad day. Yesterday, we saw one of the worst Game 7 losses in the Nuggets history, and it was just terrible from start to finish. And we're joined here by our friend here at Denver Sports, Anilo, who knows the Nuggets more than most people out here because, I mean, he works with them all the time. And, working with them and watching them, going to the games, seeing them, have you seen a performance as sad as yesterday's?
Yeah, last year, Game 7 against Minnesota.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
It is two terrible Game 7s now in a row for the Denver Nuggets, and not surprising. I hate to say that. I felt like they had Game 6 in the bag, even before that game started, and you just expected a natural bounce-back performance from Oklahoma City. I think the manner in which it happened, though, is what's disappointing, though, Joey, because you saw them get out to a good start in the first quarter.
Great start.
Last couple of minutes of the first quarter, a little rough, and then it just seemed like once the non-Jokic minutes started in the second quarter, it was all just downhill from there. So a disappointing loss, but I think now that I've had, at least the night, woke up, slept on it, all that good stuff, like this team was living on a prayer to win an NBA championship this year. And I think what was interesting about the loss in Game 7 is how everything that plagued Denver throughout the course of the regular season, their bench, their lack of depth, camaraderie, trust within that organization, it all kind of came to fruition in this Game 7 against the Oklahoma City Thunder, who won 68 games for a reason. So a bitter loss, a tough loss, but I don't think Denver was winning a championship whatsoever. So the pride is they took the Thunder to 7 games, but definitely disappointing.
It was bubbling, and you could see it throughout the season, all of these different things that were holding the Nuggets back from winning a championship.
Yep.
It was bubbling, and then the cap popped off when Michael Malone and Calvin Booth were both fired 3 games before the end of the season, and having something like that so drastic happening within a week before the postseason, there's little to no chance that you can go anywhere past the second round. But just the fact that you brought it to Game 7, you had another 10-plus point lead in Game 7, and you blew it. And that was 3 games that the Nuggets had 10-plus point leads that they ended up losing. And sure, 2 of them could have been won because those were 20 or almost 20-point leads in the fourth quarter, third and fourth quarter. You had 16, I believe, in Game 5. In Game 4, it was a 20-point lead again in the third quarter. This one was a 10-point lead, in the first. And I was checking my Twitter because as soon as Nikola Jokic stepped off and you saw Payton Watson and Russell Westbrook get on the floor, you see Jake Shapiro and he tweets out, "Nuggets have not been good when these two are in the lineup," and they weren't. That's when the Thunder went on that huge run and just completely took over. And I said it earlier on Denver Sports Daily, the Thunder smelled blood in the water when Nikola Jokic stepped off the floor, and they attacked. And even then, when Nikola Jokic was on the floor, it wasn't great from him. I mean, you're looking at his stats, only 5 shots. He only made 5 shots on 9 attempts. In a Game 7, the MVP should be taking more than 9 shots in a game. He's only got 20 points. 9 of those points came from free throws, 9 rebounds, 7 assists, and then 5 turnovers. The turnovers were what really helped kill the Nuggets throughout this entire series. There were a lot of turnovers, and they allowed almost 35 points. I think it was 32 points they allowed off of turnovers. 32 points allowed, 23 total turnovers. That's a recipe for disaster. And there was really no helping the Nuggets once they started in that second half when they were just turning the ball over. The Thunder were going on a crazy run, just taking them over every single time down the floor. The Nuggets, they were clogging the passing lanes. Nikola Jokic couldn't do anything. Alex Caruso was bodying Jokic.
Who Denver could have had last offseason if they wanted him.
Denver could have had him. Yeah, could have had him over Russell Westbrook. But instead, they got Russ, you would think, going into the house that he built, he would be playing better. Only 6 points on 2 for 7 from the field and a crazy minus 34 in the box score.
Yeah, it was bad. And, that's why I say, like, everything that's kind of been a problem with the Denver Nuggets kind of reared its ugly head. And I mean, I know there was a lot of people upset with the officiating last night. I didn't think the officiating was that great either, but I think you hit the nail on the head. To me, it starts and ends with the turnovers. I mean, 23 turnovers for the Denver Nuggets in a Game 7. I know they were on the road, but 23 is just absurd. And that resulted in 37 points.
37, not 32, 37.
37 points.
So
for the
almost
Oklahoma
40
City
points
Thunder.
just off of
They
turnovers.
scored 125 in the game. I mean, do the math. Look at the percentage of points that resulted in the turnovers there for the Oklahoma City Thunder. I mean, and to bring it back to your point about Nikola, man, dude was being triple teamed.
Yeah.
I mean, they literally, the
They
Thunders
did a very good job
the
of stopping him.
Thunder's game plan in Game 7 is we're going to go small. We're going to run Alex Caruso at the 5 in some instances, and we're going to dare anybody
And
not
it worked.
named. It did. We're going to dare anybody not named Nikola Jokic to beat us, and that's exactly what they did. And a tip of the cap to Oklahoma City. They're a great team, but I think what really hurts the most, like I thought Oklahoma City was good for probably 2 blowout wins in this series. You got that in Game 2 and Game 7. You hit on it. The leads in Games 4 and Games 5, in particular, Game 4 in your own building, at that point up 2-1 with an opportunity to go up 3-1, an 8-point lead going into the fourth quarter. And you don't just blow an 8-point lead going into the fourth in Game 4. You also turn around and do that in Game 5. So plenty of missed opportunities for Denver, but I still think big picture thinking, this roster is flawed. This team is flawed. Even if they got past Oklahoma City, they would have had to play Minnesota. We know how that goes. So
haven't beat them in 2 years almost.
Yeah, it's frustrating, man, but it is what it is.
It is what it is. And now moving forward, though, there are going to be some changes. Because you look at Nikola Jokic, he was asked about if this team can win a championship. He was asked, can this team win a championship? And he said, quote, "We didn't, so we can't. I don't believe in those ifs. We didn't, so we can't." That's the kind of energy that Nikola Jokic has around this team. That's the mentality he has thinking about this roster right now. And having a quote like that from your MVP, from the best player on this team, he's obviously unhappy with the way that it ended, despite what it may seem like in the interviews where he's laughing, saying he's going to drink some beers. He's obviously...
He deserves a beer.
He deserves a beer. And we'll talk about why he deserves a beer in a second. But with that quote, he doesn't believe that this team can win. There are going to be changes made around that team. We didn't, so we can't. That's the team. We didn't, so we can't.
Yeah, and he had another quote after the game talking about, it's, and I forget exactly how he worded it, but something along the lines of, we've been playing a certain way for so long that it's hard to just take these guys off the bench that don't have as much run with the starting 5 and this and that. And I think to your point, like, he also had a quote in the regular season talking about how he doesn't believe that teams can just flip a switch come playoff time. I do think that Denver was better in the playoffs, but I think that naturally kind of comes with the heightened expectations and pressure of playing playoff basketball. But look, man, it is, I don't think it's an understatement. This is the most important offseason in franchise history. I mean, you've still got Nikola Jokic in his prime. Now, 2 wasted seasons, in my opinion, after you won the NBA Finals. Like, you're looking back, you should have some more hardware in your hands, and you don't, except for Joker, who had the MVP last year. SGA is obviously going to win that this year. So it's a huge offseason for Josh Kroenke. Where do they go with head coach? Where do they go with GM? I know there's some reports in conversation that saying David Adelman is, the front runner to be the head coach.
He should be. He's earned it.
I think he should absolutely be on the short list. I would just like to see Denver hire a GM before they make a head coaching decision. But all in all, man, look, I think the one thing to be happy, maybe not happy, but proud about, you took Oklahoma City to 7 games.
The best team in the league.
I mean, this is a team that embarrassed the Memphis Grizzlies in the first round, swept them off the court.
Swept them.
I mean,
easy sweep too.
And you could make the argument, and I know hindsight's always 20/20. This could have been Nuggets in 5.
It could have been
clamped down in Game 4. They could have won this series in 5 games, let alone 6. So,
and then you're talking about the rest that they get going to play the Timberwolves.
Yeah,
it's just. And
it sucks.
Going back to my point about how Nikola Jokic deserves to have a beer. He deserves to have that. Jokic in the playoffs, first in points, first in rebounds, first in assists, first in steals, first in stocks, which is steals plus blocks, first in double-doubles, first in triple-doubles, first in field goals. I mean, what more can this guy be first in? It's everything. He's the best at everything in the playoffs. And the fact that you look at that, those are team stats, basically. You're first in everything, and you're taking the best team in the league, the huge, far away favorite to win the NBA Finals this year. You're taking them to a Game 7 and you're putting up those numbers, but your supporting cast is throwing up air balls. Michael Porter Jr. couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat. And I mean, it's sad, really, that it has to come to another end like this when Nikola Jokic is still playing at his peak performance. And Michael Porter Jr., that's just another thing. And he's one of those that very well could be gone this offseason. Now, who's going to take him? That's a different question. I mean, this guy's a max contract player, and he's not playing like it. So who's going to take him? But Michael Porter Jr. went out and he had a quote yesterday saying, "I really wanted to win. I really wanted to help this team. I really wanted to help the team." He wanted to help the team. Well, Michael Porter Jr., if you want to help the team, the best way to do that is play the way that you're supposed to play. You got paid a max contract to be a 3-point shooting threat, and you can't shoot. You're averaging 7.4 points per game in the playoffs on 32% shooting and 25% from the three. And it's things like that that just sting a little bit more that Kentavious Caldwell-Pope isn't on this team anymore.
Yeah, and it was a point that I made with our guy Jake Shapiro last night on our reaction pod from Mile High Hoops, talking about how, like, let's take a look at the Nuggets' previous offseason as a whole. They let KCP go because they didn't want to go into the second apron, right? So you're elevating Christian Brown. I think Christian Brown did a pretty good job in his role, all things considered. But the problem is DeRon Holmes gets hurt, and you're expecting Russell Westbrook to then kind of absorb the role that Christian Brown played off of the bench. I mean, the roster was flawed from the jump. And to bring it back to Michael Porter Jr., man, I mean, he had 2 games in this series where he had double-digit points, and one of those games he had exactly 10.
Yep.
I mean, 6 points in Game 7, 10 points in Game 6, 2 points in Game 5, 3 points in Game 4, talking about blowing Games 4 and 5. I mean, if you get anything out of Michael Porter Jr.
And Game 5 is where he airballed twice.
Exactly. So I think you hit the nail on the head. Like, they probably need to get off of Michael Porter Jr. I don't know how they're going to, because his contract is terrible, and you're probably going to have to attach an asset. I mean, remember, this is a Denver Nuggets team that I believe attached 3 second-round picks to Reggie Jackson last season just to get him off the roster. They have like 1 or 2 tradable picks in the next handful of years. I don't know how they're going to navigate this offseason, and I like MPJ. I've been an MPJ defender, but at this point, I mean, what else is there to say? And I understand that he was injured, but it's a tough watch, man. I mean, every time we got the ball yesterday, it's kind of like, cover your eyes.
Yeah,
it's
was
hard to watch.
It really was.
Watch out.
And again, I'm a huge MPJ fan. I've got his jersey. I love the guy. When he came into the league, I thought he was the next Kevin Durant. And for a second, he looked like he could be before he had that back injury in 2021, I believe. And he could have been. But there's just something about him. He's lost his fire. And you know how Jamal Murray is regarded as a playoff riser? It's almost the opposite for Michael Porter Jr. That's the same thing that we were talking about last year, where MPJ did not play well at all, especially in that Timberwolves series. He plays very well in the regular season, and he hits his threes. He gets to his spot. He's a great spot-up shooter, better than most in the league. But once he gets to the playoffs, he just kind of loses that fire. He loses his confidence. He gets a little bit more timid. And that's not the same thing. It's the jokes. Michael never swing the rock, Porter Jr. That's how he is in the regular season. But in the offseason, he doesn't have that same kind of fire. He doesn't have that same kind of energy where he wants to shoot every time the ball touches his hands.
And I think it needs to be said, because I understand why people are frustrated at the contract with Michael Porter Jr., but let's remember where the Nuggets were at when they signed him to that extension.
Yeah.
Denver now has a certain luxury that they didn't have when Michael Porter Jr. was coming up. They had to sign Jamal Murray to the first max contract extension. They had to sign Michael Porter Jr. to the max contract extension, because at that point, the Nuggets as a franchise had proved nothing. It was hard for them to get free agents in here.
Yep.
It's hard for them to get, attention from some of these big names and whatnot. But now here we are a few years later. They've won an NBA championship. They've got the best player in the league, a multi-time MVP. Jamal Murray has a new deal, right? Like, at the time, I understood the deal for Denver, but now here we are, hindsight after a bad Game 7 loss 2 years in a row.
Mm-hmm.
You can make the argument that maybe it's time to move on from Michael Porter Jr. Maybe it's time to reconfigure this roster a little bit, because for the first time as well this year, it felt like Denver had a little bit of a culture problem. Not that guys were toxic and going at each other, but that used to be the signature of the Denver Nuggets under Tim Connelly, is high character guys, good culture, play the right way.
Yep.
And it just feels like, having been there, I don't know, probably 30 plus home games this year, things just felt a little bit stale this season for the Denver Nuggets.
I mean, Tim Connelly's like that too. Look at the Timberwolves. Look at the culture that they're building. I mean, they've got
Western Conference Final 2 years in a row.
Yeah. And I think that they can definitely beat the Thunder. They've got something right now. There's something about this Timberwolves team, but that's just the thing. Tim Connelly made the culture there, same way he made the culture here, and it was great. But now it's just kind of falling apart, and it's really, I would not be surprised at all if we see Jamal Murray leave, if we see Michael Porter Jr. leave, Russell Westbrook leave. He had a quote yesterday where somebody tried to catch him in the locker room. I forget it, but
Vinny Benedetto, my guy.
Yeah. And he was talking to him and tried to ask him what his plans are for the offseason, if he's going to come back and be a Nugget because he has a player option. And he just says, he looks at his watch, says, "You know what you're going to wear tomorrow?" And says, "No." Exactly. That's the quote. Exactly. You don't know what you're going to wear tomorrow. So Russell Westbrook doesn't know his intentions. I think that it's really going to be, as much as it is a player option, it's going to be kind of a team option. Do we want to bring Russ back, or do we want him to go somewhere else? Because at his point in his career, he's just going to go where the money takes him. He's not here for, to make a statement after this season. As great as it was in the regular season for Russell Westbrook, he's most likely gone. There could be a very real possibility that the only returning players we see for the Nuggets this year are Christian Braun, Aaron Gordon, Nikola Jokic, and then hopefully Julian Strawther and Payton Watson.
Yeah, I mean, I have no idea what's going to happen with the Nuggets this offseason because Christian Brown's probably about to get a $100 million contract extension as well.
Yeah.
And you talk about, they're up against that second apron, which as we know, if you do go into that second apron, it really hinders you in what you are able to do and not able to do. So, that's why I say that this is the most important offseason in Nuggets franchise history, just because I think that their margins, in regards to what they can do are so slim, but it's clear that they have to address the roster and the overall configuration somehow. I think the big question everybody needs to ask themselves, right now the Denver Nuggets are on the same path as the Milwaukee Bucks, right? The Milwaukee Bucks won their first NBA, or maybe not first, but won their first NBA championship in modern NBA history with Giannis. And ever since then, it's been step down, step down, step down, including the first round exit this year against the Indiana Pacers. So that is kind of the trajectory that Denver is on right now. Can they learn from the mistakes that Milwaukee has made? We'll find out, but they are definitely stuck between a rock and a hard place. It's not as easy as snapping your fingers and saying, MPJ, you got to go. Yep. I mean, you've got to find, it takes two to tango. You have to find a trade partner. The money has to make sense. They don't have much draft capital. Whoever the new GM is for the Denver Nuggets is going to have to get pretty crafty with how they maneuver this offseason.
It's going to be a hard task, not one that I envy at all, to try to maneuver this offseason, because again, it's going to be more than just saying you got to go. We want to go in a different direction.
Mm-hmm.
You got to find what's going to work. And not only, I mean, from our side, yeah, we want to get rid of Michael Porter Jr., but we want to get value back. Not only do we want to get rid of this player, but something needs to come in. And that's where, during the trade deadline, I was a big fan of DeAndre Hunter. DeAndre Hunter was the guy that I really wanted. And unfortunately, I forget where he went. Is it the Cavaliers? I think he went to the Cavs, but it's just, they blew opportunities where they could have gotten things at a better value. And now they let MPJ lower his trade value, and it's just going to end up screwing them in this offseason. It was really an unfortunate loss last night. And hopefully going into next season, the Nuggets do manage this offseason well and make trades and make acquisitions that end up benefiting them better than we've seen from the Milwaukee Bucks in the past years, because that's the last thing that you want to do is be a first-round exit in 2 years. But I think that'll do it for the rundown. We will see you guys all tomorrow talking more about, the Nuggets, what they can do in this offseason. Thank you, AP, for joining. Yes, it was a pleasure. Always definitely a pleasure. But until tomorrow, y'all have a great rest of your day. Bye, guys. I do what I love what I do. Second nature to put in the